Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting video. And as you can see more technically in the title is a challenge video. And the challenge is if you was given a chance to book a WWF and WCW co-presented pay-per-view, who would you have face each other? Who would you have win each match? Who would you name what would you name the pay-per-view, and who would your commentators be? And the rules for this challenge is 1. Each match must be a WWF versus WCW match. Number 2, you must select a date for the pay-per-view and give a reason why you chose that date. Number 3, if a superstar is going to have more than one match, then the first match would have to be, or the previous matches would have to be taking place on previous or early on the card. Number 3, if you have a champion versus champion match, the champions has to be corresponded with the date that you chose. And the 5th and final rule is must be a even number of commentators, meaning you have to have the same amount of commentators from each company. Meaning, per one WWF commentator, you must have one WCW commentator. Same thing if you have 2 WWF commentators, you must have 2 WCW commentators. Now, getting into my pay-per-view that I would have picked or booked, I would have called it Retribution because of this reason. And it's going to be happening on September 5th, 1999. And I would have called it Retribution they had on September 5th, 1999 because of WWF was on the rise, back on the rise again around this time, and along with WCW was on the low, or lowering at this time. So therefore, the WCW and WWF would be looking at that Retribution a little bit. And the commentators for this is Jerry Lawler, Jim Ross, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Tony Schiavone. And the only reason I picked those 4 is because those were at that time the best commentators for each company. And before I go any further, you might be wonder why I have this pin. And that's because for each match I have a little where it's keep track of it. Because I have an odd number of matches. Odd number of matches. So we see which company is better. Going into the first match of the pay-per-view, you got the WCW Cruiserweight Champion Lenny Lang versus the WWF Light Heavyweight Champion Gillberg. And because Gillberg was on a winning streak when he won the Light Heavyweight Championship, I cannot see Lenny Lang going over in this match, so I had to give the match to Gillberg. And if you keep in track, that's 1 win for the WWF. Going into the next match is the Battle of the People's Champions, where the winner is the official People's Champion. You got the Diamond Dallas Page versus The Rock. And because our popularity was pretty well even on them, but I think The Rock was a little bit more popular around this time than what Diamond Dallas Page was. So I had to give the match to The Rock. And that's if you keep track, that's 2 wins for the WWF, zip for WCW. Going into the next match, we got a hardcore match. We got the WCW Hardcore Champion, Norman Smiley, versus the WWF Hardcore Champion, the Big Boss Man. Because of, at this time, Big Boss Man was very aggressive, or a little bit bigger than Norman Smiley, along with a very aggressive than Norman Smiley, I had to give the win to Big Boss Man. And if you keep track, that is a total of 3 for the WWF and zip for WCW so far. And you probably wondering why aren't you giving the WCW any wins? I will. I have. Don't worry. Next match is the NWO of Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Kurt Hennig versus D-Generation X, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws, and X-Pac. And you're probably wondering why the NWO was not around at this time. You're right. It wasn't, but if I was WCW, I would have kept them around a little bit longer. And I would have had, because they was a little bit more popular, I would have had the NWO win the match. Because they was a little bit more popular, and along with it was more aggressive. So if you're keeping track, that is a total of 3 for the WWF and 1 for WCW. Going into the next match, we got Goldberg versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so you know you would have to have this match because these two has been compared for years. And it's fun, and really you should have it where see which one would win at that time. Quite honestly, because of Goldberg not being able to at this time have a lengthy match, I would have to say if Stone Cold could have turned it into a lengthy match, I would say Stone Cold Steve Austin would have won this match. I would say, and that's who I would have had with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And if you keep in check, that's 4 for the WWF versus 1 of WCW. Next match, the WCW Television Champion, Rex Steiner, versus the WWF European Champion, Mark Henry. Because Rick was a better wrestler than Mark, I would have to say give the win to Rick Steiner. Solely because he was a better wrestler than Mark Henry. Going into the next match, we got Lex Luger versus Goldust. And same thing for this match as I said last match. Because Goldust is the better wrestler here, I had to give the win to Goldust. And if you keep in track, that's 5 WWF versus 2 WCW. Next match, you got the WCW Tag Team Champions versus the West Texas Rednecks, the Barry and Kendall Windham, versus the WWF Tag Team Champions, the Rock and Sock Connection. And I would say, solely because they're a better team, the Rock and Sock Connection would have to win. If you keep in track, that is 6 for the WWF versus 2 for WCW. Going into the next match, you got the WCW United States Champion Chris Benoit versus the WWF Intercontinental Champion Jeff Jarrett. And I would have to say because he's the better technical wrestler, he's a little bit more aggressive. I would say Chris Benoit would have to win this match. And you're keeping track, that's 6 for WWF and a total of 3 for WCW. Going into the next match, got Randy Savage versus Chris Jericho. And you probably were saying, wasn't Chris Jericho in WCW? No, he made his WWF debut back in like a month prior in August. And I'll have to give the win to Randy Savage here, because he is really a better performer and everything else, and he would want. Yes, he would at this time would want to help Chris Jericho, but I think it would have helped Chris Jericho a little bit more to kind of build a little bit more momentum, knowing how the type of in-ring performer Randy Savage is. And if you're keeping track, that is a total of 6 for WWF and a total of 4 for WCW. Going into the next match, got Brian Knobbs versus Mankind. And just because Mankind was a better performer, I have to give the win to Mankind. And that is a total of 7 for WWF and 4 for WCW. And going to the next match here. And the next match is Sting versus Undertaker. And I believe Sting would have won this match, so I had to give the win to Sting. And that is a total of 5 for WCW and a total of 7 for WWF. Going into the main event, we got the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, versus the WWF Champion, Triple H. And because of his ego, I would have to say Hollywood Hulk Hogan would have had to win this match because of his ego. So that is a total of 6 for WCW and a total of 7 for WWF. And the only reason I say gave WWF the victory is because they ultimately won the battle anyway. And the people that I'm going to be tagging in this is Wrestling Rampage, Dan the Beast 94, Mark Boy 316, and Duhop. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Leave those comments, and I'll see you guys next time.